Ladies and gentlemen, welcome out to my studio. I am so blessed today. If you don't know my next guest, you should, not only because he's one of the most recorded bass players of all time. I mean, he's recorded with Anita Baker, with Tony Braxton, the Winans, Nancy Wilson, Kim, Will Downing, and on some of your favorite records. But he is the most important thing, really, is that he's such a kind person, and that's why he's been in the position that he's been in for so many years as a musical director for so many great people. So, hey, I want to apologize. We had a few technical difficulties, but hey, I've learned a lot over the last few days, and uh, so Al Turner is one of the kindest gentlemen that I've ever met. We became friends. I met at Earl Clue's festival, and it's funny during this time how we have a tendency to connect with people that you're meant to connect with. So, uh, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the show the incredible Al Turner. Let's see here. There you go.
Hey, how you doing, Patrick?
I was just saying how fine wine takes time. It's taken a little bit. I downloaded some updates to some software, and then it like changed the preferences, and then I spent. Sorry, I'm late. I'm not usually late, but if you're just getting here, please hit that love button. We have an extra special guest today, and we have a lot of different questions from different people they've sent in for you, Al, over
Okay, okay.
this last 24 hours. So. Now, you grew up in Detroit in the 60s when Motown was thriving. What an experience that must have been. And we are all curious to hear a little bit about that. Can you just tell us a little bit about what it was like to grow up
It
in?
was it was actually tremendous, and you know what? Thinking back on it now, as a kid, I really didn't realize the impact that being in Detroit when Motown was thriving, how much of an impact that would have on my life and my career. So, I mean, I kind of took it for granted, I guess, because I was around so much of it, and the neighborhood that I actually grew up in. Aretha Franklin was there. Barry Gordy had a house there. Marvin Gaye, some of the Temptations. So all these great Motown people were right there in the neighborhood.
Tell
And
tell us what it's like to play with Aretha Franklin. Now, a good friend of mine who plays with me here in Portland, Nick Rolfe. Did you guys ever connect? Do you know Nick Rolfe? No.
no, no, I never met Nick.
Oh, okay.
Never met Nick.
But anyway,
I actually,
tell us what it's like to play with Aretha Franklin.
well, actually, I recorded with Aretha. I never performed with her live. She asked if I would, be in her band several times, but I preferred not to to do the live shows with her. But I actually recorded with her on many occasions, played on a few of her records. We've done a few things together. It was actually a great experience. She did what she wanted, and if you would, if you didn't give it to her, she would let you know that too. So she was the diva of divas, for real.
Wow. Well, among other people you played with, toured with, you started playing, actually got your start, from what I understand, playing in a top 40 band with Anita Baker. And then years later, you got a call from her to play on some of her records. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yes, we were in a band together. We were teenagers, I guess, 19, 20 years old, and we played some top 40 clubs around Detroit and Canada. And at that time, everybody had big dreams, but we never. Well, I shouldn't say we never thought that we'd be on the stages that we were, because I actually did see that. But you know, uh, she was just as great back then as she is now. And then later on, through the years, we kind of lost contact once she became the Anita Baker. When Rapture came out, she exploded, if you will. And then it was years later, I got a call from her to come into the studio to record on one of the records. So we kind of reconnected there. And then last year, actually, when she started doing some dates again, because she stopped doing live shows for a long time. So she decided to start doing them again. And this was supposed to be a retirement kind of tour or whatever. So Went and hung out with her on, a few occasions, 3 or 4 times. I went to a couple of the shows. So.
Wow, it's very cool. So, and you have been a musical director for close to 25 years now for Earl Klugh, and then also for Kim. What do you think? What do you think are the qualities other than being a diplomat? I mean, I could guesstimate what some of those qualities are, but what would you say are some of the important qualities in being a music director like you have been for so many years?
Diplomat was a very, very good description because you have to deal with people, and and every situation is different. In Earl's band, the guys we've all been friends and we played there in Earl's band for years, so it's very easy. It's kind of like you just kind of tell the guys what you got. You communicate what the artist wants to the band, and they kind of like just do things naturally. So it's very easy in a lot of situations. With Kim, it's a little different. We have a much bigger band, and he's a little more hands-on in terms of what he wants. So it's a juggling act sometimes, just to make sure he's pleased. But the ultimate goal is to make sure the artist is comfortable, and they don't have to worry about the music. So that's pretty much the job of a musical director, and that could it could range from making sure everybody's there on time, everybody's playing to a certain level, making sure the rehearsals are set, and sometimes they even put song lists together. So it's a lot of things involved.
Now I just want to go down the list a little bit. Just tell us if you could tell us just a little story about a favorite gig or a moment with each of these artists. That'd be great. So Nancy Wilson, just what first comes to mind from your?
The great thing about Nancy Wilson, she came to the studio. I have to digress. Back in Detroit, I was working with Michael Powell, a great producer. He produced the early Anita Baker records. But anyway, he was one of the artists that he was producing, and the great thing about her is she drove herself to the studio. No bodyguards or no security, anything. It was just her. She came in and she hung out, and she was just a regular person, and that really, really stuck with me. Because I heard so many, things about her being a diva and those kinds of things. But she was very, very nice, and it was just a great experience to work with her. Very professional. And just I don't want to say, she seemed like a mom figure, but she is a little older than I am. But she was a little older than me, but she was just a very, very nice person to work with.
Right on. Well, how about Will Downing? What's a moment that comes up? Just a little snippet from each artist. And there's a bunch of them, so don't make
it's not. You don't have enough time.
We'll be here for like 6 hours.
But Will is my man. I love Will Downing. One of my favorite stories about Will. I met Will years ago before I started actually recording and playing with him live. I actually, if his regular bass player could not make it, he'd call and see if I would be available in some dates. So I had the opportunity to play with him live on a few occasions. But the thing I like about Will is before I even started recording with him and touring with him, we were on a cruise and he had this jacket on, and I was like, man, that's a nice jacket. Not this jacket, but there was another jacket, and I was like, man, this is a nice jacket. And he said, oh, thank you. And probably a month later, I got a package in the mail, and it was this jacket, right? And on the return envelope, it was just WP or WD Productions, and I didn't really put two and two together. And it was like, later on in the day, I was like, yeah, this is Will Downing. Yeah,
you like the jacket. Here's the jacket.
Yeah, he sent me a jacket, man. He's a great guy. I love Will, man. It's just a phenomenal singer, a great person,
Right on. Well, how about so tell us about a moment with that comes up for working with Tony Braxton.
Well, I never worked with Tony Braxton per se. We were on some shows together, but I never worked in her band or anything.
Okay, and then let's see here. Did you work with Michael Franks?
No,
No.
no.
Okay, somebody was here. We got some different comments here. Sherry and Barbara and Laurie Miller. Hey, if you guys are just getting here, you're listening to the incredible Al Turner, and please share this with your friends if you feel like it's something they might enjoy. Um, so, uh, so you work with Kim. Tell us a story, a snippet about working with Kim over the
Oh
years.
man, I have a lot of Kim stories. Let's see. Wow. The very first time I met Kim was in a music store. We were in Detroit. I was still living in Detroit, and I met him. I had never met him, but I had played on a record that he had done before he got his record deal with Motown. And it was with this producer. And at that time, Kim was sounding like Prince. Okay, so I knew the name, but I never met him face to face. So we were in this record store, and he came up to me, and he knew who I was. And he said, "Yeah, man, Kim." And we kind of talked for a minute. I was like, "Yeah, man, I played on this record that you did." And he's like, "Yeah, cool." So I said, "Well, maybe one day we'll get a chance to work together again." And 2 years later, I got a call from his management. He was recording album 2. And she said, "Kim would like for you to come in to record on this album." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So anyway, went in to record. Had no intentions of, being in the band, because at that time I was in the studio most of the time recording, working with Michael Powell and around Detroit with a bunch of folk. So went in to recorded the album, and then he pulled me aside and said, "Man, I want you to be in the band." And I've been there ever since.
Wow, that's fantastic. And everybody here wants to know. They want to know why they call you the bass burner.
Well, I got that nickname years ago, back in the '80s. I was performing with a singer in Detroit by the name of Orthea Barnes. She's passed on, but she was the most popular singer in Detroit at the time. Excuse me. And so one night we were playing in a club, and a friend of mine came in the club, and he had a little too much to drink, and he just gave everybody in the band a nickname, and he said Al Turner the Burner.
Right on.
And it just stuck with me.
Well, for obvious reasons, just because you tear up the bass.
Well, I don't know if I live up to to the title, but
I think you I think you live up way past the expectations, and everybody who works with you loves it. So now you have a brand new record out, or pretty recent. Are you? We've been figuring this out like today, like how we're going to do this. Is there?
right.
Did you want to play something? Were you able to play something?
I wish I could, but I can't. The interface is not working. So one of those technical things. So we're going to work this out, and we'll come back and we'll play a song. But yeah, I had hopes of playing several things tonight, but unfortunately the interface and it's just technical things.
So we'll do a rain check on that. Hopefully get back
sure.
to it.
For sure, I can show you a bass though. I do have an instrument.
We would love that.
See, this is one of them.
Now, how many basses do you have, Al?
You don't want to know.
Well, tell us about that.
Don't
put it away
yet. One too many. One too many.
Tell us about that particular bass. Is that one of your
favorites? Bass? No. Well, I shouldn't say no. They all are, because they're like children. But this bass was given to me last year. I was asked to be the musical director for Cheryl Lynn, and we did a Japanese tour. And I had actually played with her over the years, probably 15 plus years off and on. But last year she asked me to be the musical director. So while I was in Los Angeles rehearsing the band, a friend of mine said, "Yeah, man, I want you to check this bass out." And he had somebody bring the bass over to the rehearsal. And I took it to Japan along with another instrument. And the band, everybody in the band loved the way that this particular instrument sounded over the one that I had brought from home. So it was
What
one
did
of
they
those things.
what did they like about it? Like what it
Just,
sounded
just the
different?
sound,
Just the
just the
sound.
sound. And for different situations, I use different basses. For different artists. To give you an example, when I play with Ken, he only likes one particular bass, and
Which bass is that?
it's one of my Ken Smith basses, and I've actually used a few of them on his records and in live situations. But to give you a story, another funny story is some years ago, I took another bass to one of his shows, and it was an outside show, and I played it. It was one of the basses that I liked at the time. It was a nice red bass. So after the show, Kim comes up to me and said, "You played a different bass today, right?" I said, "Yeah." I'm all excited and everything. He said, "Why?"
He said, right.
I said, "Okay, I get
Be a
it.
good thing.
I get it."
Mm.
So from that point on, and I understand. He likes to hear a certain thing, and the basses that I use on his records, that's what he wants to hear when we play live. Because a lot of times, we get the compliment from audiences all over, and say, "Man, you guys sound just like the record."
Mm.
And my reply is, "Well, we played on the record, so."
You're like, well, that was this bass right here. Hey, what do you think? A player like yourself would garner from growing up in a place like Detroit, that with the Motown and all, just the steeping and all that soul music that you wouldn't get anywhere else, or just what would you want to talk about just that cultural experience growing up during that time?
It was incredible. My mom took me to my first Motown review. And for those who don't know, Motown was in Detroit, and they would put on the Motown Review, or Motor City Review, and it had all of the Motown artists on one stage performing at the historical Fox Theater in Detroit. And so my mom took me to the matinee on one Sunday to see the Motown Review, and I saw all of my heroes at the time. And believe it or not, I wanted to be a Temptation. I thought I could sing.
I can see that.
I really wanted to be a Temptation, right? So as kids, my brother, my older brother, and a couple of my cousins, we had a little singing group, and we called ourselves the Junior Temptations. And we really couldn't sing. Nobody in the group could sing. It was just an ambition because we were so drawn to the Motown sound and just all of the great music. So having that experience really, really paved the way for me. And then later on, when I decided that I wanted to play an instrument, I wanted to play drums. My parents didn't want a drum set because of the noise, so my older brother said, "Why don't you play bass?" So I saved up my little paper route money. My mom took me down at Christmas time and bought this, inexpensive bass guitar. And, the really crazy thing about all of this whole experience is I cannot tell you the day that I learned how to tune the instrument or actually really start playing, because it was all, self-taught back then. We didn't have a teacher or anything, so it was just like put a record on and, just try to pick up things that way. So it was just a gift from God. I was just supposed to be a musician. Then I used to stand in front of a mirror in my basement.
And you wanted to be a Temptation?
Well, no. This was after the Temptation thing. I wanted to be a rock star.
Oh, okay.
Then it turned into this guy, alter ego rock star, right? So I used to stand in front of a mirror in my basement, and I saw myself on a big stage. and I just had that vision, and God made it come to pass. I just worked hard, and I still work hard at it. But I saw this as a kid. So for everybody out there, if you got a dream,
If you
follow
have
your
a
dream.
dream, follow it.
Follow it. God gives you a dream for a reason. I got a good friend. I hope he doesn't mind me mentioning his name, but he was a very successful businessman, and he's just sold his business recently, and he decided, I'm going to try. I'm going to give this music thing a try. And he made a record, and he got some airplay. And, it's a great thing to see him doing something that he always wanted to do it, but, just to step out on faith and say that, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do it. We all have passions about different things, so if you got a dream, follow it. Follow your heart.
I'm always curious what that moment is when people take that step, because I'm a big believer that you do have to take that step in faith. God's not going to do it all for you. God helps those who have faith in it and take a step, and then He's like, okay, now you know
Yeah.
now I'm going to get on board now that I know that you really believe, and I'm with you.
Well, hey, it all comes from Him. I just show up.
Wow. So, what I was going to say is that coming up during that time, what were some of your first big opportunities? Like for me, I can remember a few of mine, like playing with Diane Schuret, at the Schnitzer Hall after her won her second Grammy. And it was I was like a kid, and I was like scared to death, but that started things rocking for me. What are some of the first things that happened for you, opportunities where you were just like, wow, maybe, just maybe, this could work out?
Well, I was home one day, and I got a call from Aretha Franklin. And this was before I had really started, my career as a recording musician. And she had heard me play on many occasions. So I got a call. She says, I want you to come and play on this record that I'm doing. And we're going to rehearse at my house tomorrow night. And this is my private number, so don't give it out. So I was still living at my mom's house at the time. So, and I didn't have a car at that particular time. So my mom let me borrow her car, drove out to Aretha's house, and we were in the house rehearsing in her living room. By the way, I got to tell you that when I was a kid in elementary school, one of her sons was my best friend, right? And so when I go to her house to rehearse, he answers the door. And I hadn't seen him since, many years. And it was just like, wow, Eddie, it's like, oh man, So that was the experience, I think, that really, really put things in motion for me. And I got to digress because I am a man of faith, and I can remember one of my good buddies, the great John Patitucci, great bassist, played with Chick Corea. He and I were talking one day, and I was kind of down and frustrated, not thinking that my career was, taking off, or I wasn't really doing the things that I wanted to do. I saw other people that I knew doing things that I wanted to do. And he said, we were talking on the phone, he said, man, let's pray right now. And he prayed, and after that prayer, after we prayed, well, this was before the Aretha Franklin call. Not long, and I can't tell you exactly how long after that she called, but that was the first time that I really started, playing on records and stuff. And I was scared to death when I went in the recording studio with her and the drummer. at the time, he was my good friend. He said, "Man, don't worry about it. Just make this your song." That was the advice he gave me. And that stuck with me. You know, he gave me the confidence. You know, he instilled in me confidence to say, don't worry about it. Just play, be yourself.
Talk to me more about that. That's such an important thing, because you come up in music, and initially, you're learning different solos and different motifs and listening to all these different influences. But really, at a certain point, you learn that hopefully that you want it. It's important to be you. you know,
That's a
talk,
very good point.
and you want to have ideally you want to have a voice that when people hear it, they go, oh, that's Al Turner, or
Yes.
or so.
Or Patrick Lamb.
Well, never heard of him, but yeah,
I've heard of
absolutely.
him. He's a great guy. But that's a very good point because, growing up, we have our heroes that we listen to and learn from. And we still do, And like God tells us, there's nothing new under the sun, right? That's a very true statement because everything that we learn from has already been done. And we just take it and make it our own, So at a certain point, I used to listen to James Jamerson, who was the bass player on most of the Motown records back in the 60s and the early 70s. And then I started listening to other bass players. And there was one particular time in my life, my early career, that I was really stuck on Anthony Jackson, who was a disciple of James Jamerson.
Oh, yeah.
He was just like,
yep.
Yeah, just like one of the greatest bass players in the world. And I was just so honed into his style of playing. And I was just trying to mimic a lot of the things that he was doing, And so I got to a point where I realized that I would never be that guy. And if people wanted that guy, they're going to call that guy. Mm-hmm. So I have to try and develop my own sound, my own thing, so that people will call me for what I bring to the table. Everybody's got something unique to bring to the party. So I had to really start focusing in on what was inside of me and trying to bring that out, and have a signature, And one of the blessings was being able to play on a lot of records, back in the 80s and 90s. That was the best thing that could have ever happened to me because at that time, you go in the studio and, I can remember some of my first recording sessions, like the Aretha date and some of the ones after that. I would go in and, you think you're on a certain level. And then when they play the tape back, it's like, wow, is that me? I'm not really liking that.
Yeah.
So I really, really put in a lot of time, a lot of work to define and refine my sound and my style in the recording studio. And that was the best thing that could ever happen to me, And then it gave me more confidence because after, a few years of doing this, it's like, okay, I go in, it's like, okay, I know what I'm going to play. Mm-hmm. I'm going to serve the music, I learned to respect the music, to be in the moment, and not to force, what I think should go, being open and being able to listen. The greatest thing that you can do as a musician, as a person, is to listen, because music is a conversation. And if you're, it's just like a verbal conversation. If you're speaking Spanish and I don't speak Spanish, I don't understand you. And if you use that same concept in a musical situation, if I'm playing something that has nothing to do with the music, I'm just serving myself. I'm not serving the music. And that's one of the things I see a lot of younger players do. You practice up a lot of, great stuff that sounds great, but, most times, it really doesn't work it doesn't work in everything, So It's one thing to be mature enough to know that the music is first and foremost. You have to serve the music.
What would you say to some of those young kids out there about now I'm like a little more seasoned, and I find myself sounding like the more seasoned people, the older people, when I was a kid, but just talking about discipline, about what would you say to kids about what's important, about what they focus on coming up with their abilities and performance?
Attention to detail. And it's one of the things I learned, again, from being in the studio. Being able to know what a quarter note should sound like, how an eighth note or a whole note should sound, and how to make things feel good. Because at the end of the day, the music has to feel good. You have to really focus in and hone in on just professional skills, learning how to read music. A lot of, situations don't require that now, You got a lot of great musicians that say, well, I can't read music, or I don't, really need to learn. But music, learning how to read music is just like learning how to read, in school, the English language, if you will. It just opens you up. It just prepares you for so many different things. I can't stress it enough. So, I would say to a lot of younger players, learn how to read music, listen to as many different styles of music as you possibly can, and try and play in as many situations as you can, and listen, just listen when you're playing. And don't, just go in with the attitude like, okay, I'm going to show you how many chops I got, how fast I can play, or, to me that doesn't serve the music. So,
how would you put in perspective, just for the world, based on you're a man of faith, how this experience has been for you? What have been the takeaways? What do you think we can learn, or you've learned, or what would you share about what's happening right now?
Well, when it first started happening, I said to myself, it's like, wow, I really see how elderly people live from day to day. My grandmother just passed last year. She was 108 years old. And her life, after she got into her 90s, later 90s, and, this past 100 mark, was basically, sleeping and getting up, sitting in a chair, and going back to bed, right? So the quality of life was, and basically, because she couldn't move around, she couldn't walk. So she couldn't move from the room that she was in, right? And when I would visit her, I would really think about that. It's like, wow, I can't imagine what it would be like if I was stuck in this one place, all day, every day. And here we are. I mean, we have a lot more freedom. You do get to go outside, and you do get to go to the store and those kinds of things. But for the most part, everybody's in this thing together. A lot of things have been shut down. As musicians, as we all know, our situations have been shut down. And thank God for this medium where we can, communicate online through technology when it's working. But you think about it. I look back, man, to January, February, and we had all these plans of, okay, well, in April we're going to be here, we're going to do this, we're going to go here, we got this tour coming up, we got all these things that may happen. And one day you wake up, it's like, no,
not anymore.
That's not going to happen.
It's not happening. I know.
So the one thing, that I really, really understand about this is that we're not in control. God's in control. And He's going to get the glory out of all of this. We can't see sometimes past the forest, for the trees, and we're looking at the negatives of this whole thing, some of us. But there's a positive side to this, it supported many of us to really have time to work on different things that we wanted to work on, so there's a lot of positives, a lot of things, we know people that have been affected directly that have, either had the virus or passed on. I know several people, recently that have passed on from the virus. So it's, it's one of those things where we just pray that, we come out of this, stronger than we were. There's a lesson in it, for sure.
Amen. And on that note, Al, just on behalf of everyone watching, we just want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join us and hang with me for a little bit. And we weren't able to play together. I did.
We will. We're going to get this together, man.
Yeah.
We're going to figure it out.
I did. It's interesting because right before this, Al sent me some tracks and on Dropbox, and then Dropbox crashed.
Just crashed.
Like the whole website. They were like, we're doing maintenance. You couldn't access anything. So I did write out one of your songs called Simply Amazing that you sent.
Well, I got to just give you a little story about that. That song I wrote for my grandmother. At the time I wrote it, she was 107, I think, 106, something like that. That song is dedicated to her.
Wow. Well, we love your grandmother. We love grandmas. And if it's okay with you, I'll, as we send you off into the sunset here, it's late there, right? Isn't it?
No, man.
10 o'clock?
Yeah, I say that, it's 11, but now, I'm up to 3 or 4 in the morning. I don't have anywhere to go.
Well, hey, everybody, a big virtual hug and applause for the great Al Turner. And I'm going to play a song. I just wrote it out. We'll see how this goes. Like literally 5 minutes.
You're going to kill it. Out. I thank you so much, my brother. I love you, man. And we'll definitely come back and I'll play next time, for sure.
All right, everybody. Well, Al, God bless you. And, hey, we're going to be in touch. Let's do something. And,
absolutely.
I'll do my best on this song, and I'll play a little bit, and then please come back and play once we get this whole technology thing happening. Okay?
Oh, for sure. All right. Thanks so much.
God bless.
God bless you.
Everybody. All right, we're going to do this song called Simply Amazing, and it's a song that he wrote for his grandmother, and it goes like this. That, my friends, is the incredible Al Turner, and with the song called "Simply Amazing." It was my privilege to play along with it. I just wrote it out like 5 minutes before, so I didn't play it perfectly, but um, it was a great, it's fantastic to have Al on the show. We learned a lot from you today, so thank you so much for being here. How my heart is filled with gratitude. What a beautiful song! Just a vulnerable, beautiful, heartfelt song that is. And so we're gonna jump right into this thing. This is called "Get With It." much, everybody, for joining me today. We had a great time with Al Turner. I learned a lot. And we hope to see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Hey, share this to your timeline. Got the virtual tip jar if you feel like it, so inclined. And we have be happy to sign CDs and T-shirts. We sent out 10 orders yesterday. We love you. And please hit that love button. Once again for Al Turner. All right, everybody. All right, I'm going to say goodnight. God bless you guys. Be safe out there.
It sure is funny. I know that.
This is where the party is.
Patches is Patches. 2-week-old collard greens. Kind of extra meat in it.
Do it, honey.
He always wearing them Japanese burger shoes.